Hello, and welcome back to the Compassionate Curiosity Podcast, a space where we explore the messy, beautiful, challenging project of being human. I'm your host, Rachel, and for over a decade, I've supported thousands of women on their well-being journeys as a family nurse practitioner, Peace Corps health educator, wellness coach, and yin yoga and meditation teacher. And I help women break free from the exhausting cycle of never feeling good enough in their bodies without having to lose weight or fix themselves so they don't waste another year feeling depleted, disconnected, and drained from the pressure to look a certain way. And here in this space, we dive into the stories we carry about our bodies, stress, and self-worth, sharing tools, reflections, and lived experience to help you soften the pressure, reconnect with your body, and create more space in your life to breathe, rest, and just be. All guided by curiosity and grounded in compassion. And if you're not already following the show, take a quick second here to hit follow so you never miss a new episode. And I'm so happy to have you here with me today. Today, we're circling back to self-talk, which again is that voice in the head, or more accurately, those voices in the head. Depending on the moment, different parts of us speak up, especially when we're stressed, tired, or feeling vulnerable. And in this episode, I want to share with you a simple permission statement that can shift how you relate to your inner conversations and help you come back into a steadier relationship with yourself. It's something that you can use in real time. It's a short phrase that you can adapt depending on what's showing up. And it creates just enough safety for your nervous system to settle so your inner world has a little more space to breathe. And so before we dive into that, let's take a moment to pause here together, to slow down, to breathe and ground ourselves. You may be coming into this space with a million things on your mind, or having just come out of a difficult conversation with someone, or coming off of a really stressful day at work. And so let's take a moment here to reconnect, to arrive here fully. And so if you're safe and able to, I invite you to make yourself comfortable and gently close your eyes. And start by taking a deep breath in through your nose and letting out a long, slow breath through your nose. And do this one more time, noticing the sensations you come across as you follow the in-breath and the out-breath. And then let your breath settle into its natural rhythm. And now shift your attention to your jaw. Notice if you're holding any tension there. Just noticing. No judging, no fixing, just noticing. And then come back to your breath. And let's take one more deep breath in through the nose. And let out a long, slow breath through the nose. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes and welcoming the world back in. Thank you so much. So here's something that I want to normalize right away. When you are stressed or overwhelmed or emotionally activated, it is common for the inner critic to get louder. And that's actually a nervous system response. When your nervous system senses threat, pressure, or uncertainty, it shifts into protection mode. And one of the ways it tries to protect you is through that critical or urgent self-talk. That voice might sound harsh, demanding, shaming, but underneath it is often an attempt to keep you safe, in control, or from being hurt again. So the problem is that instead of helping, this kind of self-talk usually adds more tension to the system, making it harder to think clearly, to feel grounded, or to respond with compassion. And in those moments, a lot of the usual advice doesn't really help. Like you might try arguing with your thoughts, trying to shut them up, or replacing them with affirmations that don't feel true, or telling yourself to be grateful or think positive. And instead of relief, you end up feeling more frustrated or more disconnected. That's because self-talk doesn't shift through force. It shifts through safety. And that's where today's permission statement comes in. So sometimes what shows up is a feeling, and sometimes what shows up is a thought. If it's a feeling, you might say, I'm allowed to feel this. If it's a thought, you might say, I'm allowed to have this thought. The words matter less than the message, which is simply, I'm allowed to have this experience. That's it. That's the sentence. And I know it can sound almost too simple, but this one line does something incredibly powerful. It interrupts shame. It tells your nervous system, I'm not under attack from myself. And it creates space between you and the critical voice without trying to get rid of it. And so let's look a little deeper at why the sentence is so effective. First of all, it removes the internal threat. When we criticize ourselves, the body perceives danger. Shame activates the same stress pathway as external threat. So this permission statement does the opposite. It says, I see you. I'm not fighting you. And when the body feels safer, the mind follows. Second, this sentence respects the protective role of self-talk. From an IFS-informed lens, IFS being internal family system informed lens, that critical voice isn't trying to harm you. It's trying to protect you from rejection, from failure, from pain. So when you say, I'm allowed to feel this, or I'm allowed to have this thought, you're acknowledging that protective role rather than pushing against it. And when a protective part feels acknowledged, it doesn't have to work as hard. Third, this sentence meets you where you actually are. It allows the present moment to exist without needing to be changed or explained. It's a way of saying, this moment belongs and I belong in it. That is regulation. And so let's look at what this looks like in real life. So for example, if you're having a body image moment, you're getting dressed, nothing feels comfortable, and the thought hits, I hate how my arms look. Instead of spiraling, you pause, you notice the thought, and you simply say, I'm allowed to have this thought. And you feel into what happens. In the situation of work stress, so let's say you fall behind or make a mistake and feel guilty and angry about it. Again, you pause and you say, I'm allowed to feel this. You're not fixing the feeling. You're not pushing it away. You're staying with yourself instead of turning against yourself. A relationship trigger. So let's say someone doesn't text you back and your mind goes, did I do something wrong? You catch it, you pause, and you say, I'm allowed to have this thought. And in that moment, awareness steps in where shame usually takes over. In the context of perfectionism, let's say you're about to share something meaningful and think, this is not good enough, and feel super anxious about it. You notice that and you say, I'm allowed to have this thought and feel this feeling. And you don't abandon yourself in the process. So I want to invite you, let's practice this together for just a moment. If it feels okay, I invite you to bring to mind something from today or this past week that felt uncomfortable. A thought, a feeling, a moment of self-judgment. Nothing too overwhelming, just something that's still present for you. Now take a gentle breath and silently say to yourself, I'm allowed to feel this. And pause and notice what happens in your body. Maybe your shoulders drop. Maybe your breath slows down. Maybe nothing changes. That's okay too. Even a 2% shift matters. And here's what's important to know. This permission statement isn't the end of the process. It is an opening. Once the self-attack eases, or at least pauses, you may notice a little more space. And from that place, you might naturally ask, what do I actually need right now? What's underneath this thought or feeling? And what would support me in this moment? Sometimes the answer is rest. Sometimes it's movement. Sometimes it's boundaries. Sometimes it's just kindness. But that clarity doesn't come from forcing insight. It becomes available once safety is restored. And so I want to leave you with this reminder. You don't need to eliminate your inner critic to heal. Sometimes the most meaningful shift is just noticing what's here and letting it be here. Saying, I'm allowed to feel this or have this thought, isn't about understanding or fixing what's happening. It's about staying present. It's about not turning away from yourself in moments that feel hard. And when you do that, even briefly, you are practicing self-compassion. You are in relationship with yourself. And so if you're noticing how loud your inner critic can get, how it feels like it's running the show, and you're ready for something different, this is exactly the kind of work that we explore more deeply in my programs. And I will share ways to connect with me in the show notes below if you'd like support with that. And I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. And until next time, my dear, may you know that you are not alone. I am here with you. May you be guided by curiosity and grounded in compassion. Sending you love, light, and gratitude today and always.